I was standing in the living room of the house I'd helped save 3 times. Once when my dad had knee surgery and couldn't work for months. Once during the pandemic when both my parents lost half their retirement in the market. And once last fall when the water heater broke just before a freeze and I wired the contractor the full cost before they even called to ask. That day, I wasn't there to fix anything, just helping Dad scan some paperwork for their health insurance. It was something I did often. My dad, Harold, never quite figured out the printer-scanner combo, even after 10 years. He always said I was good with tech, though I've worked in project management, not IT, for over a decade. He'd left a stack of documents on the kitchen table. I moved through them, quickly medical records, some Medicare forms, a utility bill or two. Then I saw it a cream-colored folder, thick, neatly labeled in my mom's handwriting estate plan final copy. I shouldn't have opened it. I know that. But I had just paid their property tax bill the week before. $2,781, and I was planning to swing by the pharmacy after this and pick up their cholesterol refills like I always did. So yes, I opened it. Inside their will notarized 2 months ago, their house fully paid off their remaining retirement accounts, a life insurance policy. All of it to my brother, Ethan Carter. 29, no job, still living at home. He'd dropped out of college twice. Spent a few years working on photography, which mostly meant tinkering in the basement and posting shots that never broke 200 views. My parents always said he just hadn't found his path yet. My name, Claire Carter, appeared once one line. We love both of our children equally and trust them to care for one another. That was it. No mention of the taxes I'd paid. No line about the savings I'd transferred without being asked. Not even a thank you. Just a polite way of saying you don't need anything and we don't owe you anything. I didn't say anything at first. Just stood there staring at the paper while the scanner hummed in the background. My hands were steady. My breath wasn't. My dad came back in with his coffee and said, "You getting through that stack, Claire?" I held the folder up. "Is this how it is, Dad?" I asked quietly. "Everything to Ethan." He froze. Coffee halfway to his lips. Then he sighed one of those long, exhausted sighs. That meant he already knew what I found. "It's not what you think." I didn't answer because it was exactly what I thought. I didn't press him. Not right away. Dad just stood there holding his coffee like it might explain something. Then he mumbled, "We figured you'd understand." "You're doing well, Claire. You've always done well. That's what they always said when they didn't want to explain. You've always done well." Translation: You don't get to want more. I left the folder on the table and stepped outside to breathe. The porch swing creaked a little when I sat down. I had replaced that swing myself 2 summers ago. Same week, the deck railing gave out, and I paid a contractor to fix it because Ethan said he was between paychecks again. Back then, I didn't mind. I was raised to take care of things, to step up. I grew up in the same house, shared a room with Ethan until I was 13 when Dad finally finished the attic. I still remember the day we painted the walls green together, Dad, Ethan, and I. Mom brought us iced tea and said, "Look at our little team." Some team. I stayed in Denver after college because Mom said she couldn't sleep when I was too far away. I turned down a job in Seattle even after they offered me more money and a faster track to leadership. I told myself family mattered more. They never asked me to sacrifice. They just never told me it wasn't required. There were the little things, paying for their car insurance when they were short, buying them groceries, when the SNAP renewal got delayed, calling the credit card company when the late fees hit. And the big things like wiring $11,000 from my savings to catch them up on the mortgage 4 years ago. I did it without question. I just wanted them to feel safe, secure, not worried. And now, after all of that, I was a footnote. I sat on that porch swing staring at the old maple tree across the yard. Ethan carved his initials into it once. EC plus LK for some girl from his second high school. I wonder if he ever helped pay for that tree to be trimmed. I wonder if he even knew it cost $800 last year after a storm nearly split it down the middle. Did they ever think about what I gave up? Not just the money, but the ease, the peace, the life I could have built somewhere else. Or did they just see me as the one who didn't need asking because I always showed up first? I didn't go back inside. The porch swing creaked once beneath me, then settled. I could still hear the hum of the scanner through the screen door. A few minutes later, Mom stepped out. She wore the same pale gray cardigan she always wore when she needed to say something heavy. The one from the Christmas I gave her a gift card and Ethan gave her a burned CD. She said she loved both. She didn't sit at first, just stood there, twisting the hem of her sleeve. Claire, she said, not too soft, not too sharp. I didn't look up. She sat beside me anyway. We didn't mean for you to find out like that. I nodded once. I wasn't going to fill in the silence for her. She let out a breath. Not quite a sigh, just a release. It's not that we don't love you. Still, I said nothing. Because what do you call love that forgets your name when it's inconvenient? She reached over, resting her hand on mine. Her skin was warm, trembling slightly. Ethan's had a rougher time. You're steady, Claire. You always have been. Steady, strong, reliable. Words that feel kind until you realize they're cages. Labels that let people take from you without guilt. I pulled my hand back. You could have told me, I said. My voice was low even. You could have asked. She looked away down toward the yard, and that's when she said it quietly, as if saying it softer made it lighter. We had to co-sign for Ethan. He needed the help. The word landed like a tap, not a blow. But I heard everything in the way she said it. They didn't just leave me out of the will. They'd already tied themselves to him with real numbers, real debt, real risk. How much, I asked, no answer. Mom, how much? Still nothing. Then quietly, $35,000. I stood up. The wind had picked up. The old wind chime over the porch clinked once, then fell still. I looked at her, not angry, just tired. You didn't choose him because he needed it. You chose him because you already owed it to him. Her eyes widened, but I wasn't looking for a response. I just didn't know the price included for getting me. I didn't text. I didn't call. I just stopped. That week, I canceled the auto deposit I'd set up for their utility bills. I deleted the calendar reminder to reorder their medications. I paused the grocery account that delivered every Thursday at 4. Nothing dramatic. No big declaration, just a quiet shift, an empty space where I used to be. I thought they might notice right away, but a week passed. Nothing. By the second week, I started getting the first messages. Dad's text came first. Water bill came in higher this month. Can you check the account? I didn't answer. Then Mom, we're out of the low-sodium crackers you always bring. Ethan forgot. I left it unread. They weren't concerned. Not yet. They just assumed I was busy or moody or tired from work. Maybe they thought I needed space. Maybe they thought I'd come back like always. The third week, the tone changed. Claire, Mom wrote, "The mortgage is due. Can you send what you usually do?" She didn't say hello, didn't ask how I was, just a line, a number, a need. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed, "Ask Ethan." It's his house now. I hit send, didn't wait. 5 minutes later, she called. I let it ring. Another message. "Please don't be like this. We need to talk." But there was nothing left to talk about. They'd made their decision. I was just finally living like it mattered. That evening, Ethan chimed in. "Claire, don't make this a big deal. Just help them like always. Like always, like routine. Like reflex. Like I was never more than a reliable background noise." I wrote back, "You're the one they chose, Ethan, so be the choice." He didn't reply. The next morning, I woke up to a transfer request from Mom. $3,200. Exact amount of the overdue mortgage and penalties. No message, no note, just the number. I declined it. A minute later, the phone rang again. Then again, then this. "We could lose the house if you don't help us." And finally from Dad. "You'd let your parents go homeless." I almost laughed. They weren't homeless. They were just uncomfortable. For the first time, they were learning what I'd carried quietly without asking. I turned off my phone. They didn't lose me when they wrote me out of the will. They lost me when they assumed I'd keep giving. After that, a week of silence passed after I declined the transfer request. No calls. No texts. It was the quietest I'd known them to be in years. And somehow that felt louder than the begging. I started sleeping better, waking without checking my phone, cooking for myself and no one else. But silence never lasts in my family. Not when there's blame to pass. The first sign was a voicemail from Aunt Susan. She rarely called me. Always said she didn't want to get in the middle of family things. But that morning, her message said, "I'm not taking sides, honey, but your mom's worried sick. Maybe just talk to them." That's when I knew they'd started talking to other people. I checked Facebook. It didn't take long to find it. A photo of the front porch. A caption that read, "We gave everything to our children, but sometimes giving isn't enough." Dozens of likes. A few concerned comments. One from Ethan. Some people think family is about money. They forget it's about showing up. I closed the app, not angry, just hollow. They weren't just disappointed. They were rewriting the story, turning me from caretaker into villain because I'd stopped showing up to be used. The next afternoon, an envelope showed up at my apartment. Plain, no return address. Inside, a foreclosure notice copy only. Not addressed to me, but I knew the house number. I sat with it for a moment, stared at the paper, then flipped it over and wrote on the back. "Maybe you should have left it to someone who could manage it." I didn't send it. Instead, I checked the county site. Their property was officially listed as at risk, behind on payments, no buffer left. They'd burned through the savings, probably trying to keep up appearances, maybe hoping I'd cave before things got real. Ethan had spent it all. All the money they left to him for security, for stability, for his future gone. There was a time I would have stepped in, called the bank, negotiated a grace period, moved funds around. But now I poured myself a glass of water, sat at the kitchen table, and let the house fall without me. Sometimes you don't need to set the fire. You just have to stop carrying the water. It started small. A vague post from Mom with a daisy emoji. A photo of her and Dad smiling on the porch. We raised them with love. We did our best, but sometimes love isn't enough. No names, no direct accusations, but I knew what it was. So did anyone who knew us. Aunt Linda commented, "You two are such amazing parents. You deserve better." Dad followed a day later, a longer post, less subtle. "We gave everything to our children. Time, money, love. We thought we raised them right, but in the end, you can't control who turns their back on you." He tagged me. No call, no message, just a post for everyone to see. I didn't respond. I watched it grow. Dozens of likes, family, friends chiming in, some I hadn't seen since high school. One wrote, "This generation just doesn't understand sacrifice." And then there was Ethan. Of course there was Ethan. He shared Dad's post with a caption of his own. "Some people only care when they're getting something. I'd give anything to protect Mom and Dad." I guess not everyone sees family that way. I read it twice. Then once more, the same man who hadn't paid rent in years, who drained every dollar they had left, who watched the house fall apart, was painting himself as the hero. The comments were worse. "You're such a good son. Your sister should be ashamed. They gave her everything. She just wanted more." They didn't know the truth, but they didn't want it either. They wanted a story, and my family gave them one. I might have still said nothing. Let the storm pass. But then I saw her name Rachel, my cousin. The one who once told me, "You're the glue in this family." She liked the post, left a heart emoji. No comment, just that. It hit harder than I expected. Maybe because I thought she knew better. Maybe because I thought she saw me. I closed my laptop, sat in the dark, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something break. Not loud, not messy, just a quiet final click. They weren't just rewriting the story. They were erasing me from it. They came on a Thursday. I should have expected it. The texts hadn't worked. The money requests had been ignored. The guilt had gone stale, so they showed up. The front desk called at 10:42 in the morning. "Miss Carter, your parents are here, and a man who says he's your brother." I stood in the hallway outside my office staring at the floor tiles while she kept talking. "They're asking to come up, said it's urgent." I took a slow breath. "Please tell them I'm not available and that they're not expected." A pause. "They said they'll wait." I nodded, though no one could see it. "Then let them." 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "We're downstairs. Open the door." Another. "We're not leaving until we talk to you." I didn't rush. I finished the meeting I was in. Answered 2 emails, then walked downstairs. They were by the building entry, standing too close together like they'd rehearsed it. Dad stiffened upright like he was holding in a lecture. Mom clutched her purse in both hands, eyes scanning. Ethan looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. They all turned when I stepped through the door. No one spoke right away. I stayed where I was, arms crossed, calm. Claire Mom said, her voice already on edge. "We need to talk." I looked at her, then past her. The street was quiet. A delivery van rumbled by in the distance. I didn't answer. Dad cleared his throat. "You'd really let us lose the house over this." I let the words sit. "Then you really thought I wouldn't." He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. "You left me out. You handed everything to Ethan. Now you're here asking for the same support I gave for years without question." No one responded. Mom stepped forward, voice softer now. "We thought you'd understand. You've always been strong." I nodded. "You used that as an excuse to forget me." Ethan finally muttered something. I didn't catch it all, something about not asking for any of this. "But you took it," I said. He looked away. Dad's hands were on his hips now, impatient. "We fed you, raised you. You owe us something." I almost laughed. "I paid that debt every month, every year, and you erased me anyway." Mom's lip trembled. "We didn't mean to hurt you." I took one step closer. "Then why did you wait for me to disappear before realizing I was the one holding it all up?" They said nothing. Ethan reached for the door. I held up a hand. "Don't." "You're not coming up." "You're not coming in. I won't be your answer this time." No yelling, no scene, just stillness. They stood there. 3 people who once called themselves my family. And I was done trying to be seen by people who only looked when they needed something. They didn't lose me when they changed the will. They lost me when they believed I'd never walk away. I didn't block their numbers. I didn't need to. The silence I gave them was louder than anything they could shout back. They texted for a while. Mom tried soft words. Dad went colder, blaming, demanding. Ethan stayed mostly quiet. Just one last message. "You think this makes you better?" Walking away. I didn't answer. A few days later, I took a walk. No purpose, just movement. My path, without meaning to, curved past the neighborhood where I grew up. The old street looked the same. Cracked sidewalk, a half-painted fence. But the house, a for sale sign on the lawn, faded shutters, dying grass. I stood on the sidewalk and looked at it. The porch light was off. The swing I fixed was gone. So was the hanging wind chime. I didn't move closer. I didn't need to see inside to know what had collapsed. That house never kept me. I kept it. And now it was someone else's problem. As I turned to leave, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Once, then again. I didn't check it. I already knew the name that would be on the screen. I let it buzz. Then stopped, then buzzed again. I pulled out the phone and looked. Missed call. Mom. Missed call. Dad. And then voicemail. I muted the phone, slipped it back into my coat pocket. No message needed. I already knew what it would say. I walked home in the cold, slow air of a late autumn afternoon. Not angry, not vindicated, just free. I was never their backup plan. They just liked pretending I'd never leave. If they once counted on your silence but forgot your name, just leave a heart icon. Some of us never raised our voice, but we never disappeared. Claire learns a profound lesson about self-worth and the cost of unconditional giving. For years, she sacrificed her own financial security and opportunities to support her family, believing it was her duty as the steady one. However, discovering her parents' will, which left everything to her brother Ethan despite her contributions, revealed their assumption that her reliability was a given, not a choice deserving recognition. This betrayal taught Claire that love and loyalty should not mean erasing her own needs. By stepping back, canceling automatic payments, ignoring requests, and refusing to rescue the family home, she reclaimed her agency. The silence that followed, coupled with her family's attempts to guilt her through public shaming, underscored their entitlement. Claire realized that her sacrifices were taken for granted and her identity was reduced to a resource. Her decision to let the house fall and walk away unburdened by their expectations marked her liberation. She learned that true strength lies not in endless giving, but in setting boundaries, valuing herself, and refusing to be defined by others' needs. This shift allowed her to find peace, prioritizing her own life over a family that failed to see her.
The phone call came on December 15th, just like every year. Mom's voice had that particular tone she used when delivering news she knew would hurt. "Maya, we've made a decision about Christmas this year," she said, not bothering with pleasantries. "It's going to be adults only. You understand." I understood perfectly. At 29, apparently I still didn't qualify as an adult in their eyes. Not like my brother Derek, who was only 2 years older but had the golden combination of a wife, kids, and a corporate job that impressed dinner party guests. "Adults only," I repeated, setting down my coffee cup in what they assumed was my tiny Denver apartment. "Yes, well, Derek's children are at such a delicate age, and with Christmas being so magical for them." She trailed off, letting the implication hang. I was the problem. The single daughter who worked in computers. They never bothered to understand what I actually did. The one who wore jeans to family events and didn't have exciting relationship updates to share. "Where are you planning to celebrate?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "Oh, Derek found this incredible place, Aspen Peak Resort. Supposed to be very exclusive. 5-star everything. The kind of place where families can really bond without distractions." Distractions. That's what I was now. "Sounds lovely," I said, watching the snow begin to fall outside my floor-to-ceiling office windows. "I hope you all have a wonderful time." Mom seemed surprised by my easy acceptance. She'd probably prepared for arguments, tears, guilt trips. Instead, I was giving her exactly what she wanted. No drama, no complications. "Well, good. I'm glad you're being mature about this. Derek was worried you might make a scene." "No scenes from me. Enjoy your exclusive Christmas." After hanging up, I leaned back in my executive chair and looked out at the pristine slopes of Aspen Peak Resort stretching out below my office. The irony wasn't lost on me. For 3 years I'd been Maya Harrison, the successful but invisible daughter. But to the resort industry, to my employees, to the financial world, I was M.H. Harrison, CEO of Alpine Luxury Holdings. My phone buzzed with notifications. Derek was already posting photos on social media. The family had arrived early, clearly excited about their adults-only Christmas at one of Colorado's most prestigious ski resorts. There was Mom looking elegant in the lobby. Dad trying to look sophisticated with a brandy by the fireplace. Derek's wife Jessica posing with the kids by the massive Christmas tree in the atrium. The captions told the story. "Finally, a classy Christmas." And, "Sometimes you have to leave certain people behind to truly enjoy the holidays." I scrolled through the comments. Distant relatives and family friends hearting the posts, commenting about how beautiful and perfect everything looked. Several people asked where Maya was, and Derek had replied, "Adults only this year. Some people just aren't ready for this level of sophistication." My assistant knocked on the office door. "Ms. Harrison, your 3 p.m. is here." Jennifer had been my executive assistant for 2 years, and she still looked slightly intimidated every time she entered my office. Not because I was difficult to work with, but because even after all this time, people seemed surprised when they met the actual owner of Alpine Luxury Holdings. I was younger than they expected. Less formal than they imagined. Formal. "Thanks, Jen. Also, can you pull up the Harrison family reservation? They should be in the presidential suite." She typed quickly on her tablet. Yes, here it is. Derek and Jessica Harrison, 2 children, plus Richard and Patricia Harrison. Booked through December 30th. They've already charged quite a bit to the room, spa services, dining, ski lessons for the kids. Perfect. Can you get me guest services on the line? Of course. Everything okay with their stay? I smiled. Let's just say there's been a scheduling conflict. While Jennifer connected the call, I watched my family through the lobby security cameras on my monitor. Dad was at the concierge desk, probably booking dinner reservations and bragging about their successful family. Mom was supervising the kids as they pressed their faces against the window watching the snow fall. Derek and Jessica were taking selfies by the fireplace, looking like the picture-perfect family that apparently didn't have room for me. Miss Harrison? I have Marcus from guest services. Marcus, hi. I need to discuss the Harrison party in the presidential suite. Of course, ma'am. Is there an issue with their stay? Unfortunately, yes. We have a situation that requires us to relocate them immediately. The presidential suite has been double booked. There was a pause. Marcus had been with the resort for 5 years. He'd never known me to make booking errors. Double booked, ma'am? Yes. I'm afraid there was an oversight in our reservation system. We'll need to move them to alternative accommodations tonight. Alternative accommodations. Should I check availability in our luxury suites? Actually, I think our standard mountain view rooms would be more appropriate. They're quite comfortable. Another pause. Standard mountain view rooms were nice, but they were about 4 levels down from the presidential suite. The kind of rooms regular families stayed in, not the exclusive experience Derek had been bragging about. Ma'am, I have to mention, moving a family with children from the presidential suite to standard rooms during peak holiday season, they're likely to be very upset. I understand your concern, Marcus. Please handle it with your usual professionalism. Also, I'll need you to revise their dining reservations. The Pinnacle restaurant is fully booked. Perhaps the Mountain View Cafe would work better for them. The Mountain View Cafe was still excellent food, but it was the family-friendly restaurant, not the award-winning fine dining establishment where Derek had probably been looking forward to impressing his wife. Should I mention the reason for the change? Just explain that there was a booking error that we're correcting. Nothing more. As I ended the call, my phone rang. Derek's number. Maya? Maya, you need to call this ski resort right now. They're trying to kick us out of our suite. Kick you out? That seems extreme. They're saying there was some kind of booking error. They want to move us to a completely different room. This is insane. We paid for the presidential suite. That does sound frustrating. Have you spoken to management? Yes. Some guy named Marcus. He keeps apologizing but says the decision came from the owner directly. The owner. Can you believe that? Like some rich asshole is more important than our family Christmas. I muted the call for a moment to suppress my laugh. That does seem unfair. Unfair? It's discrimination. We're going to leave terrible reviews everywhere. This place is supposed to be exclusive and they're treating us like regular people. Maybe the standard rooms aren't so bad? Maya, you don't understand. Jessica has been planning this Christmas for months. We told everyone we were staying at Aspen Peak Resort. In the presidential suite. Now we're being moved to some basic room like we're nobody special. The irony was almost too perfect. My family had excluded me because I wasn't special enough for their exclusive Christmas. Now they were discovering what it felt like to be treated as ordinary. I'm sure you'll work it out, Derek. You're good at handling these kinds of situations. Will you at least try calling them? Maybe if they hear from someone else. I don't think a call from me would help. I'm sure their owner has good reasons for the change. Derek hung up frustrated. Within minutes, my phone was buzzing with texts from various family members. Mom was appalled at the unprofessional treatment. Dad was demanding to speak to lawyers. Jessica was crying because their perfect Christmas was ruined. But the best message came an hour later from Derek. They moved us, but honestly the new room isn't terrible. And the kids actually like the Mountain View Cafe better. They have a children's menu and the servers are more friendly. Maybe this will work out okay. I leaned back in my chair watching the sun set over the mountains I owned. My family was still here, still celebrating Christmas together, just without the exclusivity they'd been so excited about. They were experiencing the resort the way most families did, with good food, comfortable rooms and friendly service, but without the superiority complex that came with the most expensive accommodations. My personal phone rang. Jennifer had left for the day, so I answered it myself. Maya? This is Mom. Hi, Mom. How's your exclusive Christmas going? There was a long pause. Maya, there's something I need to tell you. We made a mistake. A mistake. About Christmas. About excluding you. Derek was being elitist, and your father and I went along with it because we thought it would be easier. But watching the kids tonight, seeing how much they miss their Aunt Maya. Mom, it's okay. You wanted adults-only Christmas. No, it's not okay. And honey, I have to ask you something. When we were checking in today, the staff here kept asking if we were related to M.H. Harrison. They seemed very interested in the connection. Do you know anything about that? I looked out at the slopes, at the lights twinkling across the resort property. What did you tell them? We said we didn't know anyone by that name. But Maya. M.H. Harrison. Those are your initials. Lots of people have those initials, Mom. Maya Elizabeth Harrison. The staff seemed disappointed when we said we didn't know you. And tonight, when they moved us to the new room, the manager mentioned that M.H. Harrison had personally requested we be made comfortable. Why would someone with your initials care about our comfort? I could hear the pieces clicking together in her mind. Mom, are you enjoying the resort? It's beautiful, honey. Truly beautiful. The staff is incredible, the food is amazing, and even in our new room, we have everything we could possibly need. But Maya, I think I've been a terrible mother. Why would you say that? Because I think my daughter might be more successful than I ever bothered to notice. The next morning I made a decision. I put on my best ski outfit and took the private elevator from my penthouse office down to the main lobby. It was Christmas Eve and my family was having breakfast in the Mountain View Cafe. I watched them through the glass doors for a moment. The kids were excitedly talking about their ski lessons. Derek and Jessica looked relaxed in a way I hadn't seen in years. Mom and Dad were actually listening to the children instead of checking their phones. I walked into the cafe and approached their table. Maya. My 6-year-old nephew practically launched himself at me. Aunt Maya. You're here. Are you staying here too? Something like that, I said, hugging him tight. How's everyone enjoying Aspen Peak? Mom stood up slowly. Maya, we need to talk. Of course. Why don't we take a walk? We left the cafe together, walking through the stunning lobby toward the main windows that overlooked the slopes. Maya, Mom said quietly, are you M.H. Harrison? Why do you ask? Because last night I couldn't sleep. So I went online and looked up M.H. Harrison. Alpine Luxury Holdings. Owner of Aspen Peak Resort, Snowbird Mountain Lodge, Crystal Valley Ski Resort. A portfolio worth over $300 million. She paused. And every photo I could find showed someone who looked remarkably like my daughter. We stopped in front of the massive windows. Outside, early morning skiers were already making their way down the pristine slopes. I started my first business when I was 22, I said quietly. A small software company that helped ski resorts manage their bookings more efficiently. It grew. I sold it and invested in hospitality technology. Then I started buying small resorts that were struggling and turning them around. Maya. For 7 years I've been building this company. And for 7 years, you've introduced me to people as your daughter who works with computers and hasn't figured her life out yet. Mom's eyes filled with tears. We had no idea. I know. I never told you. Do you know why? She shook her head. Because I wanted to know if you loved me for who I was, not what I'd accomplished. I wanted to know if Maya the person was enough, or if Maya the CEO was the only version worth including in family Christmas. Oh, honey. When you called to tell me Christmas was adults only, it hurt. Not because I couldn't celebrate with you, but because after 29 years, you still didn't see me as a complete person. You saw someone who didn't fit your image of success. We stood in silence for a moment watching the snow fall. Your brother is going to die when he finds out, Mom said finally. Actually, I think Derek's going to be okay. Did you see him last night at dinner? He looked happier than I've seen him in months. Sometimes being knocked down a peg helps us remember what's actually important. Maya, can you forgive us? I smiled. Mom, you're staying at my resort. Your grandchildren are learning to ski on my slopes. You're eating at my restaurants. I think forgiveness was already built into the situation. But we excluded you. And I included you anyway. That's what families do. Just then Derek appeared looking frantic. Have you seen? Maya? Maya? What are you doing here? I work here, I said simply. You work here? Like in the gift shop or? Derek, Mom said gently, meet your sister M.H. Harrison, owner of Aspen Peak Resort. Derek's face went through about 6 different expressions. Confusion, disbelief, realization, embarrassment, and finally something that looked like pride. You own this place? I own several places like this. The presidential suite thing. Was me teaching you what it feels like to be excluded? How did it feel? Derek sat down heavily in one of the lobby chairs. Terrible. Really terrible. Maya, I'm so sorry. When we said adults only, you meant successful adults. Adults with traditional families and impressive job titles. Yes. And I was wrong. Completely wrong. Derek, do you remember when we were kids and you always wanted to build the biggest snow fort in the neighborhood? Yeah. You never wanted to build it with me. You said I was too small to help with the big projects. Maya. You've been doing the same thing for 20 years. Assuming I was too small for the big projects. Too unsuccessful for the important celebrations. Too different to be part of the family image you wanted to project. Derek looked around the luxury resort lobby, his sister's luxury resort lobby. I've been an idiot. Yes. But you're my idiot big brother. Jessica appeared with the kids, looking confused about why everyone was gathered in the lobby having an intense conversation. Kids, I called out, who wants to see the secret parts of the resort? Their eyes lit up. I spent the next hour giving my family a private tour of Aspen Peak Resort. The kids got to see the kitchen where their meals were prepared, meet the ski patrol team, and visit the top-floor office with the best view of the mountains. Aunt Maya, my niece asked as we stood in my office, are you rich? I'm successful, honey. But more importantly, I'm happy. Are you happy because you have a big office? I'm happy because I built something I'm proud of. And because even when people don't understand what I do, I know I'm making families like yours have beautiful vacations together. That evening, we all had dinner together in the Pinnacle restaurant, which I'd had Marcus open especially for us. Not because my family deserved special treatment after excluding me, but because I wanted to give them the Christmas they'd actually been looking for all along. Maya, Dad said over dessert, I owe you an apology. You owe me several apologies, but go ahead. I never asked about your work because I assumed it wasn't important. I figured if you were really successful, you'd be more like Derek, showing off, bragging, making sure everyone knew about your accomplishments. Some people build quietly, Dad. I should have paid attention. I should have asked questions. I should have been proud of you regardless of what you did for work. Should have, could have, would have. The question is what happens now. Derek leaned forward. Now we do better. Now we include you in everything, not because you're successful, but because you're our sister and daughter and we love you. And, Mom added, now we stop making assumptions about people based on what their success looks like to us. I raised my glass of wine. To Christmas lessons. To Christmas lessons, they echoed. The next morning, as my family prepared to extend their stay through New Year's, at the family rate naturally, Derek pulled me aside. Maya, I have one more question. Shoot. When you called guest services and had us moved out of the presidential suite, were you trying to teach us a lesson or were you just mad? I thought about it. Both. I was hurt that you'd excluded me, but I also wanted you to experience what it felt like to be treated as less than you thought you deserved. It worked. And Maya? Yeah. I'm proud of you. Not because you own ski resorts, but because when we hurt you, you found a way to teach us something instead of just hurting us back. That's what big sisters are for. You're the little sister. Not anymore. As I watched my family head out for their final day of skiing on the slopes I'd worked so hard to perfect, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years, the satisfaction of being truly known by the people who mattered most. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Thank you for not giving up on us. And thank you for giving us the Christmas we didn't know we needed. I replied, thank you for proving that families can learn and grow. See you at dinner. Outside my office window, the snow was falling again, covering the mountain in fresh powder for tomorrow's skiers. Families were making memories on slopes I'd designed, in lodges I'd built, with staff I'd trained to make every guest feel special. But the most important guest was the one I'd almost lost myself. For too long, I'd hidden my success because I was afraid my family loved me less than they loved Derek's achievements. Now I knew the truth. They just never learned how to see different kinds of success. This Christmas had taught all of us something valuable. That success comes in many forms and excluding family members is never the answer. That sometimes people need to feel the consequences of their actions before they can change. And all of us learned that the best Christmas gift isn't exclusivity or luxury. It's belonging, understanding, and the chance to grow together as a family. The snow kept falling and I kept working, but now I was working with the knowledge that Christmas next year would be different. It would include everyone. It would celebrate different kinds of success. And it would be held wherever we wanted, because now they knew their daughter and sister could make anywhere feel like home. The text came at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, while I was in the middle of a board meeting at Torres Entertainment Group. Picked up Emma and Jake from school. Disney World, here we come. They're having fun, deal with it. Sophia. I stared at the message, my blood pressure spiking. My sister had taken my children, my 8-year-old daughter and 6-year-old son, on a cross-country trip without asking. Without permission. Without even a conversation. I excused myself from the meeting and immediately called Emma's school. Miss Torres, yes, Sophia picked them up around 1 p.m. She's on your approved pickup list, and she had a note saying it was a family emergency. A family emergency. Of course she'd lied to get them. I called Sophia directly. Straight to voicemail. Sophia, bring my children back immediately. This is kidnapping. My phone buzzed with another text. Relax, Anna. Kids deserve a vacation. You work too much anyway. We'll be back Sunday. Today was Tuesday. She planned to keep my children for nearly a week without my consent. I tried calling again. Still voicemail. This time her greeting had changed. Hi. I'm at Disney World with my favorite niece and nephew. If this is Anna, stop being such a control freak and let the kids have fun. My assistant knocked on the conference room door. Miss Torres? Everything okay? Jennifer, I need you to track down Sofia Martinez, my sister. She's taken my children to Disney World. I need to know exactly where they're staying. Should I call security? Not yet. But have them on standby. Jennifer was back within 20 minutes. Miss Torres, they're at the Grand Floridian Resort. The reservation is under Sofia Martinez, but the payment method is. She paused, checking her notes. A black American Express card registered to Anna Torres. My black card. Sophia had been using my emergency credit card, which I'd given her months ago when her husband lost his job and they were struggling with rent. It was supposed to be for groceries and utilities, not unauthorized Disney vacations with my children. Thank you, Jennifer. Can you get me Disney's security on the line? Their corporate security? Yes. And patch me through to the Grand Floridian's management. While Jennifer made the calls, I paced my office, looking out at the Orlando skyline. The irony wasn't lost on me. I could see the Disney fireworks from my office window every night. My company, Torres Entertainment, had contracts with Disney for their streaming content. I'd been to countless meetings in that park. But Sophia had no idea about any of that. To her, I was just Anna who worked in television and was too serious about everything. Miss Torres? I have Michael Patterson from Disney Security on line 1, and Sarah Chin from the Grand Floridian on line 2. Put me through to Mr. Patterson first. Miss Torres, I understand there's a situation with your children? My sister took them without permission. She's using my credit card and staying at one of your resort hotels. I need them returned immediately. Ma'am, this is a delicate situation. We can't remove children from a family member without proper legal documentation. Mr. Patterson, are you aware that Torres Entertainment Group holds the exclusive streaming rights for Disney's new series, Magic Kingdom Chronicles? There was a pause. I'm sorry, did you say Torres Entertainment? That's correct. Anna Torresio. And right now, my children are being held at your resort by someone who kidnapped them from their school using false pretenses. Miss Torres, let me escalate this immediately. Please hold. I was transferred to someone higher up the chain, Director of Resort Security. Miss Torres, this is David Rodriguez. I understand your sister has your children at the Grand Floridian? That's correct. And she's using my Black American Express card to fund this unauthorized trip. Ma'am, we can certainly monitor the situation, but unless you want to involve law enforcement. Actually, let me try something first. Can you coordinate with the hotel to flag any charges to my credit card? I'd like to revoke her access. Absolutely. We can place a hold on the card immediately. Perfect. And can you have security call me the moment she tries to use it? Of course, Ms. Torres. Anything else we can do? I thought for a moment. Sophia had always been dramatic, always pushing boundaries. She'd taken my kids to teach me a lesson about being too controlling. But she had no idea who she was messing with. Actually, yes. I'd like to speak with whoever handles VIP guest services. 20 minutes later, I had a plan in motion. Sophia's unauthorized Disney vacation was about to become very complicated. My phone rang at 6:30 p.m. Miss Torres? This is hotel security at the Grand Floridian. The Sofia Martinez party is trying to charge dinner to their room, but the card is declining. Perfect. What's happening? She's quite upset. She's demanding to speak with management and claiming there's been a mistake. Can you patch me through to wherever she is? She's at Citrico's restaurant. Hold on. I heard background noise, the clatter of dishes, conversation, and then Sophia's voice, sharp with frustration. This is ridiculous. The card worked fine this afternoon. Ma'am, I heard a staff member say, the card holder has revoked authorization. Is there another form of payment? Revoked authorization? That's impossible. This is my sister's card. That's when the staff member apparently mentioned that the card holder was on the line. Anna. Sophia's voice was tight with anger. What the hell are you doing? What am I doing? Sophia, you kidnapped my children. I didn't kidnap anyone. I took them on vacation. Emma and Jake are having the time of their lives. Without asking me. Without permission. You lied to their school and said it was an emergency. Because I knew you'd say no. You never let them do anything fun. I could hear Emma and Jake in the background asking what was wrong, why Aunt Sophia was upset. Sophia, bring them home. Now. No. We're staying until Sunday like I planned. The kids deserve this. With what money? I've canceled the card. You can't do that. Anna, we're stuck here. We can't even pay for dinner. That sounds like a problem you should have considered before taking my children across the country without permission. The restaurant manager apparently took the phone. Miss Torres? This is Margaret Walsh, manager at Citrico's. We have a situation here. Yes, I'm aware. The woman with my children doesn't have authorization to use my credit card. Ma'am, we have other guests watching this scene unfold. Is there any way we can resolve this quietly? I paused for effect. Actually, I think I can help. Can you transfer the Martinez party to a different table? Somewhere more private. Of course. And can you have security escort them there? I'd like to speak with my sister privately. 5 minutes later, Sophia was back on the phone, and I could tell she'd been moved to a quieter location. Anna, you're embarrassing me in front of the kids. I'm embarrassing you? Sophia, you stole my children. I didn't steal them. I'm their aunt. You're their aunt, not their parent. You don't get to make decisions about their lives. Someone has to. You work 16 hours a day. You never take them anywhere fun. Sophia, do you have any idea what I do for work? You work in television or something. I don't know, Anna, you never talk about it. I own Torres Entertainment Group. We produce content for Disney, Netflix, Amazon Prime. I work long hours because I'm building something. There was silence on the other end. Sophia? Are you there? You own a company? A multi-million-dollar company. And one of our biggest clients is Disney. The same Disney where you're currently holding my children hostage. Anna, I had no idea. Of course you didn't. Because you never ask. You never show any interest in my life unless you need money. That's not fair. Isn't it? When's the last time you asked about my work? My goals? My challenges? When's the last time you showed up for anything that mattered to me? I could hear her breathing, but she didn't respond. Sophia, I work long hours because I'm a single mother building a business that will secure my children's futures. Every contract I negotiate, every meeting I take, every decision I make is for Emma and Jake. I thought I was helping. By lying to their school? By taking them out of state without telling me where they were going? by using my credit card to fund a trip you knew I wouldn't approve. Anna, I'm sorry. I really thought. You thought you knew what was best for my children better than I did. The hotel manager came back on the line. Miss Torres? We've moved the party to a private dining room. Would you like to continue this conversation in person? In person? Well, ma'am, I assumed, given that Torres Entertainment has offices here in Orlando. Sophia's voice in the background. Wait, what? Anna, are you here? Sophia, where exactly do you think I've been working while you've been parading my children around Disney World? In Los Angeles? Your office. My main office is in Orlando. I've been 20 minutes away this entire time. The silence that followed was deafening. Sophia, I want you to listen very carefully. I'm going to come to the hotel. We're going to have a conversation about boundaries, respect, and what it means to be a responsible adult. And then we're going to figure out how to fix this situation. Are you going to have me arrested? I haven't decided yet. 30 minutes later, I walked into the Grand Floridian Resort. The lobby was exactly as elegant as always, but tonight I wasn't there for business meetings or client dinners. I was there to collect my children from my sister, who had finally learned that actions have consequences. The hotel manager met me at the front desk. Miss Torres, they're in the alcove private dining room. The children have been fed and your sister is, well, she's waiting for you. How are Emma and Jake? They seem fine, though a bit confused about why the adults are upset. They keep asking if they're in trouble. They're not in trouble. Thank you for handling this discreetly. I walked through the resort toward the private dining room, my heels clicking on the marble floors. I'd been in this hotel dozens of times for business, but never under circumstances like this. I opened the door to find Sophia sitting across from Emma and Jake, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. My children jumped up when they saw me. Mommy! Emma ran to hug me. Are you mad at us? No, sweetheart. You're not in trouble. Aunt Sophia made some choices that weren't okay, but you didn't do anything wrong. Jake looked confused. But Aunt Sophia said you'd be happy we went to Disney. Aunt Sophia should have asked Mommy first before taking you anywhere. I sat down at the table and Sophia finally looked me in the eyes. Anna, I honestly had no idea about your company, about your work. Sophia, that's the problem. You made a huge decision about my children's lives without knowing anything about my life. I thought I was helping. You always seem so stressed, so overwhelmed. I am stressed. I'm a single mother running a business. But that doesn't give you the right to make parenting decisions for me. Emma climbed into my lap. Mommy, we went on Space Mountain and saw Mickey Mouse and ate ice cream for lunch. That sounds wonderful, honey. But next time we plan trips together as a family, okay? Hey. Are you and Aunt Sophia fighting? I looked at Sophia, who looked genuinely remorseful for the first time since this whole thing started. Aunt Sophia and I have different ideas about how to make decisions. But we're going to work it out. Sophia leaned forward. Anna, what can I do to fix this? First, you can never take my children anywhere without my explicit permission again. Of course. Never. Second, you can start asking about my life instead of making assumptions. I will. Anna, I really didn't know about your company. I thought you were just, I don't know, working at some regular job. There's nothing wrong with regular jobs, Sophia. But the point is you didn't ask. You decided what kind of person I was and what kind of mother I was without actually knowing anything about my situation. Jake was getting restless. Mommy, can we go on one more ride before we leave? I looked at my watch. It was almost 8 p.m. Sophia, how long had you planned to stay? Until Sunday. I booked a suite through the weekend. A suite. With my credit card. Anna, I'll pay you back. With what money? Last month you needed help with rent. She looked down at the table. I know. I just wanted to give them something special. Sophia, do you want to know something about my work? Yes. One of the things Torres Entertainment does is produce family content. Shows about parents and children, about what makes families strong. And do you know what we've learned from all that research? She shook her head. The most important thing you can give children isn't expensive vacations or fancy experiences. Stability, consistency, and trust. When you took Emma and Jake without telling me, you broke their trust in the adults who are supposed to protect them. Emma looked up at me. What's trust? Trust is when you know the people who love you will always tell you the truth and keep you safe. When Aunt Sophia took you to Disney without asking Mommy first, it made it hard for Mommy to trust that you were safe. Oh. Emma thought about this. Should Aunt Sophia have asked first? Yes, she should have. Sophia wiped her eyes. Emma, Jake, I'm sorry. I should have asked your mommy before taking you on this trip. It's okay, Aunt Sophia, Jake said. But next time can Mommy come too? I felt my heart soften slightly. You know what? Next time we plan a Disney trip, we'll all go together. But first, Aunt Sophia and I need to finish our grown-up conversation. I arranged for Emma and Jake to wait in the lobby with hotel staff while Sophia and I talked privately. Anna, I need you to know that I wasn't trying to hurt you or undermine you as a parent. Then what were you trying to do? I thought you were missing out on their childhood because you work so much. I thought if I showed them a good time, maybe you'd realize that there's more to life than work. Sophia, do you know why I work as much as I do? To make money? To build something that will last. Emma and Jake's father isn't in the picture. I'm their only parent. Every deal I close, every client I sign, every hour I work, it's all going toward their college funds, their future opportunities, their security. But what about now? What about their childhood? What about it? They're in excellent schools. They have music lessons, art classes, sports teams. We go to movies, we have game nights, we read together every evening. Sophia looked surprised. I didn't know that. Biz, you never asked. You saw that I work a lot and assumed that meant I was neglecting them. I was wrong. Yes, you were. But Sophia, here's what I don't understand. If you thought I was a bad mother, why didn't you talk to me about it? Why didn't you offer to help in a constructive way? I don't know. I guess I thought you'd get defensive. So instead you decided to take my children without permission? When you put it that way, it sounds really bad. It is really bad, Sophia. And it's illegal. He started crying. Anna, please don't have me arrested. I know I messed up, but I love Emma and Jake. I would never actually hurt them. I sat back in my chair thinking. Sophia had made a terrible decision, but her intentions hadn't been malicious. She'd been wrong, incredibly wrong, but she'd been wrong while trying to help. Sophia, I'm not going to have you arrested. But things have to change. Anything. I'll do anything. First, you pay me back for this trip. Not all at once, but you set up a payment plan and you stick to it. Okay. Second, you never make decisions about my children again without asking me first. Not where they go, not what they do, not what they eat. Nothing. I understand. Third, you start acting like an adult. You want to be part of Emma and Jake's lives? Then you be reliable. You show up when you say you will. You follow through on promises. You respect boundaries. I will. Anna, I promise. And fourth, you start asking about my life. If you want to understand why I work the way I do, then take an interest in what I'm building. I want to. I really do. I looked at her for a long moment. Sophia was 26 years old, married to a man who couldn't hold down a job, struggling financially and emotionally. She'd made a terrible decision, but she was still my sister. Sophia, do you want to know what Torres Entertainment is working on right now? Yes. We're producing a documentary series about single mothers who've built successful businesses. The challenges they face, the sacrifices they make, the way they balance work and family. Really? Really? And watching you with Emma and Jake tonight, seeing how much you love them, I think you might have some insights that could help with the project. You mean, you'd want me to help? I mean, I'd want you to understand what I do and why I do it. And maybe, if you're interested in learning about television production, we could find a way for you to be involved. Sophia's eyes lit up. Anna, that would be amazing. It would also be work. Real work with real responsibilities. Are you ready for that? Yes. Absolutely. I stood up. Hey, here's what's going to happen. We're going to collect Emma and Jake from the lobby. You're going to check out of your suite tonight. But the kids were so excited about staying here. Sophia, they can be excited about coming back another time. When we plan it together as a family. Okay. And tomorrow you're going to come to my office and we're going to have a real conversation about boundaries, expectations, and what it means to be a reliable aunt. I'll be there. As we walked back to the lobby to collect Emma and Jake, Sophia turned to me. Anna, I really am sorry. I thought I was helping, but I see now that I was being selfish. Sophia, wanting to do something nice for the kids isn't selfish. but not thinking through the consequences, not respecting me as their mother, not considering what this would do to them if something had gone wrong. That was selfish. I know. It won't happen again. Emma and Jake ran to us when they saw us coming. Are we going home now? Emma asked. Sweetie, we're going home. But we didn't get to go on the haunted mansion, Jake protested. You know what? I knelt down to his level. Maybe next month, if you're both good at school and Aunt Sophia apologizes properly, we can all come back together for a day trip. Really? Really? But next time we plan it ahead of time and everyone knows what's happening. Okay. As we walked toward the exit, Sophia pulled me aside. Anna, can I ask you something? Sure. When you said you work 20 minutes away, do you really have offices in Orlando? Sophia Torres Entertainment has offices in Orlando, Los Angeles, and New York. We employ over 300 people. We produce content that's seen by millions of viewers every week. I had no idea. I know. But now you do. And now you get to decide what you want to do with that information. We drove home in my car. Sophia would have to figure out how to get her rental car back to the airport, and the kids chattered about their day at Disney. They'd had fun, there was no denying that. But they'd also learned something about trust, about asking permission, about what happens when adults don't communicate properly. As I tucked Emma into bed that night, she looked up at me. Mommy, are you still mad at Aunt Sophia? I'm disappointed in the choice she made. But I'm not mad anymore. Good. I like it better when everyone gets along. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. The next morning, Sophia showed up at Torres Entertainment at exactly 9 a.m., dressed professionally and carrying a notebook. I'm ready to learn, she said. Good. Because we have a lot to talk about. Over the next several hours, I walked Sophia through my business, my responsibilities, and my goals for Emma and Jake's futures. I showed her the projects we were working on, the decisions I made every day, and the way I balanced work demands with parenting. Anna, I had no idea it was this complex. Most people don't. They see that I work a lot and assume I'm just ambitious or money-focused. But every choice I make is about creating security and opportunities for my children. I feel terrible about yesterday. Yesterday is done. What matters is what happens next. I want to be better. I want to be the kind of Aunt Emma and Jake can count on. Then prove it. Show up consistently. Respect boundaries. Ask before you act. I will. 6 months later, Sophia had become one of my most reliable family members. She'd taken a part-time position with Torres Entertainment, learning production skills and contributing to our documentary about single mothers. She'd also become the kind of aunt who asked permission before making plans, who showed up when she said she would, and who understood that loving children means respecting their parents. And the following December we took that planned family trip to Disney World, all together with proper planning, and with everyone understanding that the best family experiences happen when everyone feels safe, respected, and heard. The black card incident became family legend, but not as a story about punishment. It became a story about communication, about the importance of understanding each other's lives, and about how even the worst decisions can become opportunities to grow closer as a family. Emma and Jake learned that trust is earned through consistent actions. Sophia learned that good intentions don't excuse bad decisions. And I learned that sometimes the people who love us most need the clearest boundaries in order to love us well. The magic of Disney wasn't in the rides or the characters or the expensive resort suites. The real magic was in learning to see each other clearly, communicate honestly, and build the kind of family relationships that can withstand even the biggest mistakes.